He has got them. The Sussexes, Harry and Meghan, know that they have been rumbled.
Something strange is happening, and people are starting to notice fast. Right in the middle of growing tension, unexpected claims, and non-stop headlines, one small move has everyone talking. A post that looked calm, polished, almost too perfect, suddenly disappears without a trace. No explanation, no follow-up. Nothing. And now what seemed like a quiet moment has turned into a loud question.
It's completely over the top. It's ridiculous. It's farcical. It actually, to me, actually says that they're scared of Tom Bauer. They're scared of what he's going to report because they know it's true. They know there's truth to it. If it's just deranged and crazy and fixation and whatever, then just ignore it.
What was really behind it? Because this isn't just about one post, and it's not just about one book. It's about timing, reactions, and a story that keeps getting bigger every time someone tries to control it. The deeper you look, the more it starts to feel like something bigger is unfolding behind the scenes. And not everyone is convinced we're seeing the full picture. Something real weird just happened, and people are catching on quick, right in the middle of one of the biggest royal dramas out right now.
Harry the bully! He made me feel worthless is the quote. Shocking new revelations from the journalist Tom Bauer, whose devastating new book about the Sussexes, betrayal, power, deceit and the fight for the future of the royal family, paints Harry in the worst possible light.
Meghan Markle posted something that looked super calm at first glance. Soft vibe, clean aesthetic, almost too perfect to be real. But then, just a few hours later, it was gone. Deleted. No explanation, no follow-up, nothing at all. And that's exactly why people are side-eyeing this hard, because this didn't feel like some random post. It came off planned, polished, and very intentional, like every move was calculated. The whole setup was giving curated energy all the way. Soft lighting, cozy setting, everything looking picture perfect on purpose. There was even a cup that literally said, "Cultivate kindness," and a poetry book placed just right. Every little detail felt carefully picked, like it was trying to say something without actually saying it out loud.
That is the only explanation behind their truly deranged statement, suggesting that Tom Bauer, one of Britain's most respected authors, someone who had a long career of revealing the truth about high-profile figures from Mohammed Al-Fayed to Simon Cowell for years before he tackled Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, is somehow a conspiracy theorist for deciding to tell the truth about them.
Normally, people might scroll past and not think twice. But with the timing of everything going on right now, it's hitting way different, and people aren't ignoring it this time. That's where things start getting real interesting. Just hours before that post even showed up, Meghan and Prince Harry had already clapped back publicly at some explosive claims coming from a new royal book by Tom Bauer. And here's the wild part. The book isn't even out yet, but it's already making serious noise. In their statement, they didn't hold back at all. They straight up called the claims a deranged conspiracy, accused the author of being obsessed, and tried to shut the whole thing down before people could even read a single page. So naturally, people started connecting the dots real fast. Right after calling something a deranged conspiracy, Meghan suddenly drops this soft, almost symbolic post about kindness. No direct response, no explanation, just this calm, polished image sitting there like it means something deeper. And for a lot of people, it didn't feel random at all. It felt calculated, like a quiet move to shift attention without saying a word, just letting the visuals do the talking.
Now, Tom Bauer is Meghan and Harry's arch nemesis. They detest him. They hate the guy because he wrote the unflattering book Revenge about them, which was an instant bestseller and the beginning of the end for their public reputation. They detest Tom Bauer because of the damage that original book did and because he publishes the truth.
The whole thing came off like a smooth play to redirect the conversation away from the accusations and into something more positive, more controlled, and way more on their terms. A quiet way of saying, I'm above this, without getting pulled into the messy details. But if that was the plan, it didn't land the way it was supposed to at all. Instead of calming things down, it actually made people way more curious. Everyone started asking the same thing. Why post something like that at that exact moment? Was it a response, a distraction, a subtle message to critics, or something else entirely? Maybe something closer to damage control. Then came the part that really flipped everything upside down. The post disappeared. No statement, no acknowledgement, just gone. And that's when the whole situation shifted from interesting to straight-up suspicious. Because posting something is one thing, but deleting it that fast sends a completely different message. Now, people aren't just looking at the post itself. They're questioning the reaction behind it. Why remove it? Did it backfire? Did it attract the wrong kind of attention? Or did someone realize the message wasn't landing the way it was supposed to?
There's nothing conspiratorial, there's nothing deranged about this, and Brittany, the use of that word deranged, I think shows that they're the only ones in trouble here.
When you're dealing with a public image this tightly managed, every move matters. And this one just made things look even more calculated than before. Carefully managed. That's what makes this whole thing hit different, because it's hard to believe any of this was accidental. Every post usually feels deliberate, every detail thought out down to the smallest thing. So when something pops up and then disappears that fast, it doesn't come off random at all. It feels like a decision, maybe even a correction happening in real time based on how people reacted. And when you line everything up, it gets even harder to ignore what's going on here. First, you've got explosive claims from a highly anticipated book. Then comes a strong public denial, calling it a deranged conspiracy. Right after that, a calm, almost cryptic post about kindness shows up, and then silence as that same post quietly disappears. That pattern doesn't feel like coincidence. It feels like a reaction unfolding step by step.
Although the king's youngest son likes to project an image of himself as a kind and caring philanthropist, this book shows Harry to be quite the opposite, a thin-skinned, money-obsessed, status-obsessed grifter, and every bit as much of a preening narcissist as his wife Meghan Markle. My husband!
That's why people are starting to ask what's really happening behind the scenes. If the claims in the book are truly baseless, like they're saying, then why respond so fast before it's even officially out? And why follow it up with such a carefully curated message right after? Now, Tom Bauer isn't new to this either. He's been a long-time critic of Meghan and Harry, and his previous book, Revenge, painted a very unflattering picture that grabbed a lot of attention when it dropped. So naturally, anything tied to him is going to spark strong reactions and serious scrutiny. That history adds a whole extra layer to this situation, especially when emotions and reputations are already on the line. But the biggest question still hanging in the air is this: why remove that message so fast after posting it? Because that doesn't look like the move of someone completely unaffected.
He has made a career out of constructing ever more elaborate theories about people he does not know and has never met. Those interested in facts will look elsewhere. Those seeking deranged conspiracy and melodrama know exactly where to find him. But of course, there's nothing deranged and there's nothing conspiratorial about betrayal, power, deceit, and the fight for the future.
It looks more like someone reacting to pressure, adjusting in real time, trying to regain control of the narrative. And that's exactly where this story starts to crack wide open. At this point, it's not just about what's written in the book anymore. It's about the reaction, the timing, the messaging, and the decisions playing out right in front of everyone. That deleted post might have seemed small at first, almost easy to ignore. But in the middle of everything happening, it turned into something way bigger.
And of course, although that original book, Revenge, contains some truly damning claims about the Sussexes, they haven't sued for a syllable written in that book. And they won't sue over this new one either, because it's all true.
Now it's a moment people can't stop breaking down. A detail that doesn't quite add up. A reaction that may have made the conversation even louder instead of shutting it down. Because sometimes, what gets deleted ends up saying the most. And right now, that silence is speaking volumes. The moment the Sussex spokesperson dropped that statement, the internet lit up instantly. Deranged conspiracy, melodrama, obsession. Those were the exact words thrown out in response to 𝗠𝗲𝗵𝗵's upcoming book. And this wasn't just a quick comment either. It gave a real glimpse into how tense things might be behind the scenes right now. But here's the key detail that has everyone talking. The book isn't even officially out yet. The serialization in the Times had only just started, and already Meghan and Harry were firing back hard. And for a lot of people watching this unfold, that alone says a lot.
The truth will bear out generally. People will ignore what they seem as or deem as sort of on a crazy end of the spectrum. But that's not what 𝗠𝗲𝗵𝗵 is doing. 𝗠𝗲𝗵𝗵 is being a journalist here and reporting the facts. And the facts terrify Meghan Markle especially. She can't deal with them. She has to live in her delusional fantasy, and she hates anybody who tries to break it. And unfortunately for her, most of the media tries to break it all the time, and she just immensely struggles with that.
If the claims are really as baseless as they say, then why respond so early? Why turn up the heat before the public even gets a chance to read it? That's the part nobody can ignore. Some insiders are pointing to one word: panic. Not calm, not fully strategic, but real pressure building behind the scenes. Reports suggest Meghan and Harry have been moving quickly to stay ahead of the story. Emails, press, calls, and watching social media closely. Every move feels deliberate, like they're trying to keep the narrative from slipping out of their control before it spreads any further. The Sussex camp is reportedly working overtime right now, trying to land the perfect angle, the perfect statement, the perfect post, the perfect counter-story. But in trying to control every little detail, it's also starting to show just how much this situation is getting to them. The tighter the grip, the more obvious the pressure becomes.
Well, they call him a nut job, and by the way, it's my understanding that Harry and Meghan are in total disarray about this new book. I'm hearing from my sources that Harry's freaking out because he's read the preview chapters, he doesn't like it, and he's absolutely terrified about what else is going to come.
Meanwhile, critics are not holding back at all. Social media lit up with reactions, memes, and non-stop speculation. People are picking apart everything: the deleted Instagram post, the exact wording in the spokesperson's statement, every tiny detail. Even the claims and theories floating around online are being debated hard. And the internet isn't exactly forgiving when it feels like someone is trying too hard to shape their image. Royal commentators have already started drawing comparisons to past moments. Major interviews, carefully timed media appearances, all of it. The pattern feels familiar. Respond fast. Control the narrative. Protect the brand. But this time, something feels different. There's a growing sense that people are getting tired of the same playbook. The more Meghan and Harry try to steer the story, the more attention and scrutiny they seem to pull in. And it's not just the public watching all this unfold. Even within royal circles, eyes are locked on the situation.
There's perfect timing right before they go to Australia. I have ordered and will be doing a full review. Just remember, Harry and Meghan threatened to sue at the drop of a hat, and they have never tried to sue 𝗠𝗲𝗵𝗵 because they know what he writes is true.
Sources say tensions are still high, and whatever's happening right now hasn't exactly calmed things down behind the scenes. Prince William and Kate are reportedly staying quiet, just watching everything unfold from a distance. And that contrast? It's hard to miss. While the Cambridges are coming across calm, strategic and low-key, the Sussexes are starting to look more reactive, even a little desperate in the eyes of critics. Every statement, every post, every deletion, it's all being watched under a microscope now. Nothing is slipping past people anymore. And right in the middle of all this, the Invictus Games controversy is adding even more pressure. The book claims Meghan used the event as a global spotlight, pulling attention away from the veterans it was meant to honour. Sussex representatives shut that down fast, calling those claims disrespectful and inaccurate. But once a narrative like that starts moving, it's hard to stop. The second people hear veterans and Meghan in the same conversation, the story spreads fast online, gaining momentum with every share and every comment. This is the reality they're facing now. Every move gets analysed, every reaction gets amplified, and every deleted post gets broken down piece by piece. The tension is obvious, and the optics are getting harder to manage by the second. It's not just about what's true or false anymore. It's about perception, control, and who gets to shape the story first. And in a situation like this, even the smallest move, a single word, one post, or just bad timing, can trigger a massive wave of backlash that's almost impossible to contain. Right now, the world is watching closely as Meghan and Harry try to handle a situation that's already grown way bigger than expected. The reaction to their response has been non-stop. Social media threads, news coverage, commentary. Everything is breaking down their every move.
Personal brand value had crashed. She said people don't want to be associated with your Netflix shows, and especially not with Meghan. The survey also discovered that Meghan had almost no brand value in the United States. Across the globe, she actually damaged Harry's remaining brand value. Now, accustomed to being hailed as box office, Harry was stunned, writes 𝗠𝗲𝗵𝗵𝗵. Johnny Depp, the actor, had still attracted a lot of money despite his bitter courtroom battles with his ex-girlfriend Amber Heard. Couldn't Harry do the same? So Harry is comparing himself to the rather handsome, swashbuckling movie star, Johnny.
Critics are saying that by responding to a book that isn't even officially out yet, they may have actually given it more attention. Jumping in early has people wondering if the claims hit closer than they'd like to admit. Whether that's true or not, the conversation has already taken off. Now, every deleted post, every wording choice, even phrases like deranged conspiracy, are being used as talking points in the court of public opinion. People are analysing everything. Royal experts are split on what this all means. But one thing is clear: the pressure is on. Meghan and Harry are trying to protect their image while walking a very fine line. They're balancing between defending themselves and risking coming across as overly sensitive, and that line is getting thinner by the second. Analysts are also pointing out a pattern. Meghan has often responded strongly to criticism, whether it's press coverage, interviews, or unauthorized books. And while that approach can push back against negative narratives, it can also keep the spotlight locked on the controversy longer than expected. Especially now, in a media space that never slows down. Because in the age of social media, every single response gets amplified instantly. What might have once been a quiet statement now turns into a full-blown headline that spreads everywhere in seconds. And the Sussex camp's attempts to control the story. They might actually be doing the opposite. Instead of shutting things down, it's feeding an endless cycle of speculation, reactions, and non-stop coverage. The more they try to manage it, the louder the conversation seems to get. Behind the scenes, the pressure is building. Sources close to the couple describe a team scrambling to stay on top of everything, trying to manage the message across multiple platforms all at once. Video clips, press releases, rapid social media responses. It's all part of a wider push to contain the situation. But in trying to stay ahead of it, they could be pushing people away instead. For a lot of people watching, the pattern is clear. The more explanations that come out, the more
And rather than
questions
just
follow.
ignore 𝗠𝗲𝗵, or actually decide to put their money where their mouth is and sue the guy, Meghan and Harry instead ran to their favorite news outlets like GB News and People magazine to release the second in a truly bonkers statement.
And the optics, they're getting harder to ignore. A couple once associated with composure and control is now being seen by critics as defensive and reactive under pressure. Some are even questioning whether the tone is starting to come off as overly entitled, adding another layer to the public debate. At the same time, comparisons to other senior royals keep popping up. Prince William and Kate are often seen as the benchmark, calm, measured, and always thinking long-term. Their public appearances feel steady and controlled, while Meghan and Harry's approach is viewed as more emotional and immediate. That contrast is becoming a major talking point. One side leans on subtle messaging and carefully planned appearances, while the other goes straight into direct statements and public responses. And people are definitely noticing the difference. Consistency. The other reacting in the moment and trying to reset the narrative fast. And then there's the Invictus Games situation, adding even more intensity to everything. The claim that Meghan may have used the event as a personal spotlight cuts right at the core of how the couple presents their work. Their team insists the focus has always been on honoring wounded service members and their recovery. But critics are saying the perception may have already shifted, and once that happens, it's incredibly hard to reverse.
They said Mr. Bauer's commentary has long crossed the line from criticism into fixation. This is someone who has publicly stated the monarchy in fact depends on actually obliterating the Sussexes from our state of life, language that speaks for itself.
Headlines, social media, and online discussions keep pushing certain labels and narratives, and they spread fast. The phrase Meghan Games has even started circulating in some corners online, adding more heat to an already tense situation. And in a media environment like this, once something sticks, it's hard to shake. The fallout is starting to feel unpredictable. Public trust, which has always been a key part of Meghan and Harry's image, is beginning to look less steady under all this pressure. Some long-time supporters are now questioning the timing and intensity of these responses. while others see the early pushback as proof the criticism couldn't just be ignored. Now every interview, every statement, every post is under intense scrutiny. Even the smallest misstep can spark a huge wave of reactions and keep the story alive way longer than anyone expected. The stakes are high, and the margin for error is shrinking fast. Their brand, built on stepping away from royal duties and creating an independent global identity, relies heavily on credibility and public perception.
Meghan's history of carefully crafted messaging is now colliding with a media environment early against something like a book the headlines don't celebrate. They question.
And of course, Brittany, the whole point of this book is to fast forward to today and talk about the strains in their marriage, especially since Meghan decided to focus almost entirely on her own personal commercial ventures, only using Harry when it suited her.
Concerns.
But the speed of the media cycle, mixed with the drama around this book and their response, is putting that credibility under real pressure. One poorly timed comment can take over headlines for days, turning a defense into a whole new wave of criticism. And still, Meghan and Harry keep pushing forward. They continue defending their position, shaping their narrative, and managing how they're seen using every tool available to them. Meanwhile, the world is watching everything, locked in on every development, every reaction, every shift in tone. This has turned into a high-stakes situation where even the smallest move can echo across headlines worldwide. As all of this keeps unfolding, one thing stands out: their relationship with the press, the public, and the wider royal story remains tense, unpredictable, and always right on the edge of the next big moment. By responding to Bauer's book, the Sussexes have stepped straight into a storm that isn't slowing down anytime soon. Now the world is watching closely as one of the most talked about couples in modern history tries to defend both their name and their narrative. And in this level of spotlight, nothing slips through unnoticed. Every word gets weighed, every statement gets picked apart, and every move gets magnified in real time.
But to get that confirmation from Bauer that it was something that the publicist had actually suggested shows just how cynical Meghan is and how prepared she is to use human tragedy to advance herself, something I think we've seen over the past few days, Brittany, with this terribly ill-judged visit to a Californian children's hospital, which she has no connection to, which she's never raised money for.
Sources.
The drama around Meghan and Harry isn't slowing down at all. If anything, it's getting even bigger. As the book gets closer to release, the tension keeps rising. This has turned into a high-stakes battle over narrative, reputation, and public opinion, where even the smallest slip can change how they're seen almost instantly. And right at the center of it all is one major issue: trust. It's the one thing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry seem to be struggling to hold onto in the public eye. Every statement, every post, every response now carries serious weight. When they came out strong against Tom Bauer's upcoming biography, calling it a deranged conspiracy, it looked like a clear move to protect their image. But the reaction that followed told a very different story. The harder they push back, the more their credibility gets questioned. Public opinion can flip in seconds. One moment they're seen as independent voices challenging tradition. The next, critics are calling them defensive, reactive, and unable to handle pressure. And responding to a book before it's even released. That doesn't read as confidence to everyone. For many, it comes off more like panic. Every word Meghan uses, especially phrases like deranged conspiracy, gets replayed and analyzed across platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Nothing fades away anymore. It spreads, it loops, and it gets picked apart from every possible angle. And it's not just online chatter, either. Royal commentators are now pointing out that trust, once a key part of their brand, is under serious strain, and that shift is becoming harder to ignore as the spotlight keeps getting brighter. Meghan's history of carefully crafted messaging is now crashing into a media environment that moves faster than ever. Everything goes viral, and criticism barely fades anymore. To push back against Bauer's claims, they have to rely on the same platforms that amplify every reaction. Social media helped build their global image, but now it's working both ways. Every response doesn't just defend them, it opens the door to even more scrutiny. Then there's the comparison that just won't go away. William and Kate are still seen by many as the standard when it comes to royal stability. Their approach is steady, controlled, and deliberate. Every appearance feels planned, every response carefully measured. That kind of consistency builds trust over time, and it's exactly the image Meghan and Harry are trying to project. But right now, they're struggling to land it the same way. The gap between these two approaches is becoming more obvious, and people are definitely noticing. When William steps out at an event, the reaction is usually applause and positive headlines. But when Meghan responds to criticism, or even moves early against something like a book, the headlines don't celebrate. They question, they analyze, and they keep the controversy alive. Instead of praise, it turns into skepticism, debate, and non-stop analysis. Now, the book itself has become a major flashpoint. The claims being discussed, like suggestions that Harry has been heavily influenced, or that the Invictus Games were used as a personal spotlight, hit right at the core of their public image. And by calling it out before it's even released, they may have pulled even more attention toward it. Critics are already asking one simple question. If the claims aren't true, why? Respond right now? That's where things start to get complicated. Because in today's media cycle, even defending yourself can get flipped into something else. The stronger the denial, the more some people start questioning what's really going on. It's not always fair, but that's how public perception works now. From Meghan and Harry's side, though, this goes way deeper than just headlines. For them, trust isn't just about image, it's tied to everything they've built. Their independence, their projects, their partnerships, it all depends on how they're seen by the public. If they come across as overly defensive or reactive, that trust can start slipping fast. And once it drops, rebuilding it isn't easy. Every response turns into a test. Will people believe them, or will it spark another wave of criticism? That pressure doesn't let up. And it's not just coming from the outside either. There are even concerns within their own circle, showing just how intense and high stakes this situation has really become. Sources describe ongoing tension behind the scenes, with advisors carefully weighing every move, timing, tone, wording. Nothing is being left to chance right now. Every press release and every post is getting checked and rechecked because they know how fast credibility can take a hit. At the same time, the media cycle isn't slowing down at all. Headlines keep pushing phrases like deranged conspiracy, along with other explosive claims tied to the book. Social media is keeping the momentum going non-stop. Commentary, clips, opinions spreading fast. And the more they respond, the more content there is for people to break down and analyze. It creates a loop that's tough to escape. Every attempt to defend their reputation can end up pulling even more attention back onto the situation. And in the end, all of this comes down to one thing: trust. You can't see it, but it shapes everything. It drives public opinion, fuels debate, and decides how every single move gets interpreted under the spotlight. Meghan and Harry can respond, clarify, and push their side of the story. But in this kind of environment, trust is fragile. Once it starts to crack, fixing it becomes incredibly difficult. That's why this situation goes way beyond just one book. It's about credibility, control, and convincing people that their version of events is the one that actually holds up under pressure. And as the release date gets closer, the tension only keeps building. The court of public opinion doesn't wait, and it definitely doesn't forget. One wrong move, one poorly timed response, and suddenly the very claims they're trying to shut down could end up shaping how their entire story is remembered. That's the risk they're facing right now, and it's only getting more intense by the day.